My name is Ryan and I'm in recovery. It's a beautiful sunny day today. I've got a big red face because I've just come out of the gym and I'm walking home. I normally get a lift or get a bus, but I think it's about an hour walk, but since it's such a glorious day I thought I'd walk. I've been thinking a bit about loneliness the last few days, and there's a video that's came up on my TikTok that kind of got me thinking as well. So I thought I'd just share some thoughts on it. I'm not going to necessarily talk about loneliness in the obvious sense of literally being alone, but more how, not being your true self can kind of create that feeling of loneliness or isolation. I spoke a lot in therapy, in rehab, about different traumas and things like that happened in my life, big and small. There was one particular one when I was young where I lost my best friend at a young age, and we talked about that quite a lot, and I'd never really thought of that as being something that was connected to my addiction, but having kind of unpacked it, I guess, with my therapist, we would chat about it, and something that I guess a kind of simple way I can describe it is, she said, when you lose someone someone so close to you at that young age, you then maybe have a bit of a resistance to make close connections. Maybe it's probably subconscious or whatever, but what then tends to happen is you make friends, and you consider them close friends, but you're maybe keeping something back. You're not maybe you've boxed off something and you're kind of keeping it there separate to keep yourself safe. And that means that despite no matter how many friends you can have or how close you think you are to them, there's maybe something missing that makes it, I guess, gives you that feeling of loneliness. You're not fully connected to them, and that loneliness can then lead to things like addiction. And it's not just big traumas that do this kind of thing. It's not like losing someone. It can be something as small as when you're young and you're at school. Schools, I don't know if it was for anyone else, but it's a savage place. Like, I talk to my niece a lot about experiences she has at school and in the playground playing with other kids, and it's brutal. Like, kids are pretty savage. They just cut each other out, or they steal each other's lunches. They're just doing quite savage things to each other regularly. And I think even just things like you're in a group at school and they decide to cut you out one day because they don't like you for whatever reason, that might, that rejection is a really horrible, visceral feeling when you're that age. And I think that's the kind of thing that can maybe, then you may be like, they might say, oh, we don't like how loud you are or something, so then you might try and be less loud so that you can fit in better. And then if you do fit in, you then get something in your brain that then says, oh, this version of myself is more acceptable to society, so therefore I need to be more like that. And then, before you know it, you're into your adult years and you've kind of created this persona that's a bit more palatable to the world, but ultimately it isn't your true self. So you're basically masking and you're presenting yourself in a way that isn't really authentic to you. And then, you can, no matter how many friends you have, you're then not fully connected. I'm sure everyone's had that experience of when you're at a party or in like a big group setting and you don't feel totally comfortable and you kind of feel alone. Despite being in a room full of people, you feel alone. And it's kind of that sort of feeling I'm speaking to, but on a kind of, I guess, a wider lens, like, you build this persona, and it might just be it might just be you, but with one slight tweak or something. Like, it could be really small and subtle, and over the years you've perfected it so well that you don't even really know you do it anymore. But ultimately there's this kind of almost feeling of something's missing or detachment inside you, and I think that then creates this feeling of like loneliness, or I don't fit in the world, or where's my place? And then you seek solace in other things like substance, in my case, cocaine. And I think that's a really interesting thing to be aware of. There's a study done, that's the TikTok video I actually just saw, that got me thinking about this, and someone mentioned this study to me in rehab as well. It was called Rat Park. Basically, they put a rat in a cage by itself and they gave it water, the 2 bottles of water, one regular water and one water that was laced with cocaine. When the rat was by itself, the rat would drink the cocaine water over and over and over again, keep relapsing and drinking it until it died. Every single time that would happen when the rat was by itself. Then they built what they called a rat park, which is essentially like a rat theme park, with loads of rats all hanging out together, having fun. There's like I don't know what rats do for fun, just have slides, little mazes, whatever they do. And they did the same thing. They put the cocaine water in, they put the plain water in, and none of the rats, they would try the cocaine water, but none of them would go back to it. They would only drink the regular water. So, you know, that really shows, it's a great study to show that, you know, humans need connection, and without it, they'll seek solace in something else. But beyond that, it's important to note that it needs to be authentic connection. It needs to be connection that comes from a real place from your side. Like, you need to be making sure you're recognizing who you are, what you need, and that you're able to express yourself emotionally with people around you. You really need that nourishment. I've found in my recovery journey already, now that I'm kind of working a lot harder on listening to myself and being authentic, I'm really finding that the kind of interactions I'm having with my family, with my girlfriend, with my friends, it just feels so much better. I just come away from these encounters feeling so good, so at peace, so fulfilled. And it's something that's I think really helping me in my recovery and stopping me wanting, I'm not really getting cravings, and I think that's a big part of the reason why.